All right. Hey guys. So, welcome to Real Talk, Rates, and Repeat, the podcast where mortgage meets mindsets and real estate gets real. We're your hosts, Queeny and Gary, two mortgage bankers with a lot to say and even more to uncover. So, let's talk shop, spill some secrets, and repeat the stuff that really matters.
This is
All
great.
right, Gary. This is
What's up?
fun. I've been looking forward to this and now I don't know what to say. So,
Well, why don't we talk about why we're starting this podcast and a little bit of sort of about us, who we
mhm.
are and how we got into the business and why we continue in such a stressful industry.
Stressful. Is there a more intense word for stressful? Because I don't think stressful fully describes what we deal with day to day. Um,
Punching
but I
bag?
like that. Yes, let's talk a little bit about ourselves. Because I want to, I want to know more about you.
Okay. Okay. Um, so I've been in mortgages since 2004 during the refi boom. Previous to that, I was doing gym sales, membership gym sales. Yeah.
Seriously?
Yes. 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 Still in membership gym sales. So I used to just work right all the time, didn't do anything, making a comfortable living there. I had one of my friends who was working at a call center for a company that's no longer around, is called New Century Mortgage down in Princeton, New Jersey. He was told me, hey, you're good at sales. How would you like to come see what I'm doing, earn a little bit more money? I was like, oh no, I'm comfortable, um, sort of just disregarded everything that he said until he showed me, well, this is what I make. And I took a look. I'm like, oh, okay, let's see what this is about. So at that time I was living in Jersey City. So I took the trip down there. I thought it was just sort of an interview. Um, it turned out to be an interview and start the same day.
Wait, how old were you then?
20 something, mid 20s.
20 something. So what did you go to college for? Like what was your okay, when I grow up, I want to be this.
I definitely grew up saying I want to be a mortgage banker. That's definitely no. No,
Okay. First
no. I always
lie.
no. I always wanted. I always liked health and wellness and things like that. So obviously, But I went to school for business. But I really got into working out. I would say in end of college and things like that. Um, really was trying to be more healthy and you know active. So that was fun. But then I went
Mhm.
the opposite route, and I do a job that you're at the desk most of the time now. But yeah, so I interviewed with New Century. um, they hired me supposedly on the spot, which I guess it wasn't really hard to get hired for a subprime mortgage company. Back in 2004, all you had to do was really learn how to pick up a phone. My training at New Century, because I didn't know anything about mortgages, was literally a DVD that they rolled in like a DVD player and TV, and I sat there for an hour watching this DVD. And then after that, they're like, "This is your desk. This is your phone." So I sat at my desk, got a phone, picked it up, and it was it was a family that was living in South Jersey. They were trying to refinance their mortgage at the time. I remember, um, I had to put them on hold so many times because I had to keep asking my friend, like, "Hey, what are they talking about? What's an
Hmm.
ARM? What's a 30-year fix? What's a prepayment? Like, what is all these things?" Like, I had so many questions. That first phone call probably lasted about hour and a half. Um, but I still remember I helped them sort of refinance, their existing mortgage and all their credit card debt. I rolled it into one. Um, we did at that time we did what 327, so it was a 3-year fix, 30-year amortization. I think I was saving them like $600 at the time. I didn't do any sort of prepayment penalty. Um, but yeah, I mean, after that, I sort of felt, I sort of fell in love with what I was doing, being able to help people, um,
And you
refinance.
said
Mhm.
2004. So now, I mean, kind of fast forward 20 years, right? Do you still
Yeah.
feel the same way? I
You
mean,
know
as we
what?
said, it's a very high stress environment, but is that
Yeah.
passion still there?
The passion is still there. I think once you get to closing, especially when you're dealing and, obviously you have different transactions that give you a different level of sort of satisfaction and sort of a sense of accomplishment, right?
Mm.
Um, when you're doing a consistent sort of purchase transactions or whatever for, let's say, investors, like, it's just sort of another sort of notch under their belt, right? So you don't really it's not as rewarding as, let's say, when your referral sources refer you like a first-time home buyer. They're constantly asking you questions, They're obviously doing their due diligence online, whether it's Google, Reddit, friends and family, all the sources that you should not be doing research
Mm-hmm.
on, they do. But then they call you, they text you, they ask, you're trying to walk them through it. And then at the end of the day, when they finally find a property, go through the financing aspect and finally close and just see sort of how happy they are. It's not just the beginning of one wealth accumulation, but it's the beginning of just, forming a home, like a real home, you know?
Yeah.
So I think it is definitely rewarding, although it is, day to day, it's always going to be frustrating, right? Especially with the challenges that we face, which we're going to talk about throughout this podcast, right? That's the whole
Right.
purpose.
Right. Right. Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, it's
How about
kind of
you?
like for me,
Yeah,
I
how'd you
don't even
get?
remember what was the question I first asked.
How did you get into this industry? And
um,
is it as rewarding?
I don't think that my initial story is as passionate as yours, to be honest, because so I got into it because I went to Baruch, and that's a finance school, right?
Mhm.
And I've always worked since I was 12. And this was before legal limits, of course, and I can say this because the bakery that I used to work for is no longer there, so I'm not afraid of anyone, looking for the owner. But since I was 12, my first job was at a bakery, and I worked for $3.25 an hour. And so to me, working was just always something I did, and I never stopped, whether it was there at an eyeglass store, CVS, restaurant, like I've kind of done it all. But now I'm approaching my senior year in college in a business school where my major is finance and investment, and I was working at CVS, right? So I'm like, okay, that's a problem. I need to have some sort of finance, you know,
Right.
employment on my
So,
resume. So I had a friend who was working at Chase, and she goes, she's like, oh, they have a round robin hiring session, and even then I didn't know what a round robin was. But she's like, it's in Long Island, it's at this office. I sent your resume over, like, go go to the interview. I live in Brooklyn. I was born and raised in Brooklyn.
mhm.
I did not have a car. I did not even have a driver's license, but I had a friend drive me to Long Island to go to this interview. And I gotta say, I interviewed pretty well. So the lady was like, okay, everything looks good, but do you know where this position is? And I'm like, it doesn't matter. I can get there. And she's like, well, it's in Queens. Um, so it's gonna be a trek from Brooklyn. And I just really wanted a job. So I'm like, it's fine, I can get there. And she's like, no, no, let me introduce you to someone else that's in Manhattan. She's looking for a loan officer assistant. Maybe that will work out better for you. So I go there. I interview with the first loan officer I worked with. I was an assistant for her. And I remember, the rules that they tell you, hey, like after an interview, you always have to like email them, say thank
Yep.
you, or follow up, things like that. So of course, after the interview, I email her, say thank you. And she replies back, okay, you hear from us soon, blah blah. The next day, I didn't hear from her, so I like call. I'm like, hey, how's it going? Just checking in. And she's like, yeah, everything's fine, blah, blah, blah. And then I didn't hear again. So I think I annoyed her so much that she just had to hire me.
There you go.
Like I just wouldn't stop calling. And so she said, hey, here's your offer letter.
Well, yeah,
Um,
there's the
so
tenacity speaks
yeah,
for
I mean,
itself.
I had to. I needed, I needed a job. So that was how it started. And my first 2 months there, she went on vacation to Taiwan and she left me with her deals. And if for anyone who doesn't really know the day-to-day of a mortgage banker, it's a lot. It's not something you can learn in two
No.
months. And we'll talk about that another
Well, I
time.
mean, I learned on the DVD, so.
Right. But you were still kind of like, putting your clients on
Oh,
hold to ask questions, right?
yeah.
So I remember um it was 2 months in and I'm sitting in my cubicle and I started crying because I got off the phone with this client who was flying in from Vegas to purchase a home. And he's like, everything better be ready. I'm at the airport. This doesn't make sense. Well, and I'm just like, okay, like let me look into it. But meanwhile, I had this file in front of me. The appraisal wasn't back yet. Um, like the loan wasn't even approved. So, that says a lot about me because
Yeah.
to have gone through that and still stay in the business, like I'm just a crazy person. Like I don't know why I did that. I'm like a masochist at this point. But things worked out, but of course this was pre-mortgage crisis, right? So, a lot of the rules and regulations have changed since the mortgage
Mhm.
crisis. So to be able to get an appraisal to come in within 2 days is not something we can do now, but it's something we can do back then, right? Um, Rushing things through, just uh, there were a lot less restrictions then.
Yeah.
So the guy came from Vegas,
There's
he
no
closed, it
regulation.
was fine, all the crying was not worth it. But um, honestly, 20 years later, I'm still in the business myself. And
Yeah.
the passion really came after I became a loan officer. So as an assistant, it was a means to an end. But
Okay.
once I created that personal relationship with the client and understood their needs and kind of the same as you, right? You see them purchase their first home, move in, be excited about it, be grateful about it. Those are the times that makes it okay when you're getting yelled at by a client or an agent or an attorney or whoever else that's part of a deal.
Yeah.
Because, bad times happen, but the good times, it's kind of like, yeah, I saved that family. So I'm happy. Yeah.
Yeah. That's awesome. That's awesome. So you were at Chase since what, 2005?
Mm, yes. So 2005, the tail end of 2005. It's funny. I went to the first holiday party. I started working there towards the tail end of the year. So they had their Christmas party and I grabbed a glass of wine and my manager walks up to me and he's like, Queenie, like you're not supposed to be drinking because I wasn't even 21 yet. I was
Oh my
20.
gosh. Very
So that, I had a lot of, fond and quirky, funny memories from,
good.
the past 20 years. And again, those are the times that's kind of like, all right, I wouldn't trade that, even though I get yelled at all the time now, but yeah, it's fine.
So, I guess so have you always worked in Manhattan?
I would say primarily, yes. I bulk of my business is Manhattan. Most of the companies I've worked for have their office in Manhattan as well.
Mhm.
So, yes, yeah, Manhattan.
Okay. Yeah, so it's a little bit different than sort of me because, like I said, I started out subprime call center down in Princeton, um, worked in Jersey until the financial crisis. And then, sort of, when the downturn came, everybody here in Jersey sort of was like not hiring. It was just sort of layoffs and things like that. I thought to basically protect myself, I would go into sort of look for a major bank and work at a major bank. Because when the financial crisis happened, I actually worked for a small company called Countrywide. I don't know if you've heard of them, but they
A
sort of
small company called Countrywide. I
I
feel like
know,
everyone in the
yeah.
mortgage industry that's like an OG knows Countrywide, right?
I mean, it probably caused the majority
Yes.
but
Okay,
right,
disclosure there, but yeah, probably.
right. Um,
Personal
but yeah,
opinion, yes.
first, yeah. Yeah, well, they had some great products. They had the Fast and
Hmm.
Easy. They had, they amazing products,
Yeah.
amazing people that worked there. But yeah, so in order to protect myself and to sort of insulate myself from getting laid off, I decided to sort of take the initiative. And since I live in Jersey City, Manhattan was literally right there. So I decided to sort of apply actually at Chase. I got hired at Chase and started working at Chase in 2009. Was there for about 3.5, 4 years. Met some amazing people I still keep in contact with. The industry, obviously, in the city is just so small. Everybody winds up knowing each other, right?
Hmm.
Whether you see each other sort of competing as far as in rates or LEs, and then or actually just going to networking events. But yeah, just working in Manhattan, even though how abundant and just so many people in Manhattan, you just always run into the same people. Um, I feel like we've probably worked at similar companies just at different times,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. For sure.
But yeah, I think, overall, working in Manhattan for about 11, 12 years. After I had my daughter, then I decided, let me try focusing more on New Jersey since I live in Jersey, right? And the commute's a little bit easier, things like that. So now, I'm here in Jersey, as well as, obviously love to do business in New York. Um, what do you think has been the biggest change in industry, in markets?
Um.
Sort of go and adapt. Because you've recently, I mean, we've all recently, I would say recently made a move, right?
Hmm.
From big financial firms to a smaller, what's called an IMB, an independent mortgage bank, right? What's been the biggest difference and why do you think you made the move?
Um. On a personal level, I think I wanted to change for the the challenge and for kind of like the I would call like a recharge. So I've worked at, the major financial banks the whole time I've been doing mortgages. So it was Chase, Wells, Citi, Citizens. And I can't say that where's that coming from again? It's so weird. I think I just speak well.
Probably.
Um
I haven't gotten a single thumbs up yet.
but yeah, like I think I just really wanted to um get out of the monotony a little bit.
Mhm.
Um I don't want to say like, hey, I got bored, but it um it didn't it didn't allow me to say to myself, hey, like how can I do things differently? How can I market myself differently? How can like I mean I could have done that at these financial firms, but it just got to a point in my life where I just wasn't doing that. So it was almost like I had to work at a whole different environment to force myself to reinvent myself. And after having done that, I really like it.
Yeah.
I like the challenge. I like the stimulation. And it kind of brought back the me from like 10 years ago, right? Where I was like, hey, I want to be top producer. I want to do this. I want to do that. Like, how can I do things differently? How can I market differently? And I feel like that even triggered this podcast, right?
Yeah.
Like, in a sense, where we're just like, hey, let's do something that we would enjoy, but also is beneficial for whether it's our business or just to give knowledge to other people, right? So, changing over to Clifco to the IMB helped me reinvent myself,
Mhm.
which
Good.
was necessary. Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah. What
That's
about for you?
so I feel like a very similar background, right? Working at big financial banks, New New Century, they were pretty big. They were the second biggest subprime, then went to full spectrum, then countrywide. Biggest sort of mortgage producer at the time. Then I went to Chase, Wells Fargo, HSBC, uh, US Bank. So major financial institutions. I left just because, it's very similar to you, right? It's not really about monotony, but I was just really tired of not being able to do things that I felt made sense, right? Working at a major financial institution, you're working with one box. And that's all you're working at. You're working with whatever box that they want you to sell in, right? And I feel like if you're trying to build a business, how are you building a business with the limitations of somebody else,
Hmm.
right?
Yep.
So if you want to build a business, you have to sort of take away the limitations and do what you can do to sort of increase, like you said, your brand, your exposure, social media, things like that. Because part of marketing yourself, especially when you're working for a big bank, is the compliance aspect, right? Is this going to be compliant? Is my logo going to be here? Well, Queenie, guess what? You're going to have to type out a script and we're going to have to approve everything that you say. I just felt like you didn't have as much control.
Hmm.
Uh, and I just felt, and at that time, I just felt that the big banks, especially in this environment, were just going to contract a lot. So I wanted to be able to expand myself. So that's, I made the jump into the IMB world, and it's very different. Very different, especially with just the abundance of just investors, guidelines, and just you're able to do so much more. It
Hmm.
is overwhelming. I didn't really tell myself, and I didn't give my chance to sort of acclimate, right? But it really does take you about like 6 to, I would say, 8 months to really get to know what you're doing, right?
Yeah.
The day-to-day job is pretty similar. Let me just rephrase. The day-to-day is not similar, but the the job itself is relatively pretty similar, right? Your job is to go out, make relationships, get loans.
Hmm.
It's the back end of, where can we fit these things that's definitely a lot more different. Um, and you definitely are able to definitely build yourself a much bigger brand, and close more business and help more people. Ultimately, that's the most important thing, is just helping as many people as possible.
Yeah, I definitely, I mean, I've been at Clifco now. I think I'm just approaching my 2-year anniversary per LinkedIn. And I think that I've come across more clients that are like, I wouldn't say in a pickle, but more like they didn't know where to go. They had a situation, whether it's just not understanding whether there are products that serve them, or me being bilingual, right, as
Mhm.
well. So that helps, like, clients that are just, they may need more of a personal touch, but then they can't find someone that speaks their language. I can like explain things to them. So being here, having the products, and then also having the means to reach more people is kind of like a perfect puzzle piece match, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Because I do remember when I was in, the major banks, I didn't educate myself in the non-traditional lending and all those other products. So when I would, when a client would come across my desk and it's someone that I couldn't approve the way maybe a financial institution, like a major one, will be able to approve in that perfect box, I would have to say like, hey, you don't qualify, right? But in actuality, they didn't qualify under those terms, but I wasn't aware of the other terms and the other
Yeah,
guidelines because I didn't work there, right? I,
yeah.
I just didn't, make myself well-rounded enough to know all that. So those are people I literally would just turn away, like, I couldn't do it. I'm sorry. And knowing what I know now, I'm just like, turning away a client is not an option. Not because I can do every deal under the sun, but at least I'm able to say, okay, if we can't even go the non-traditional route, I can tell you why, right? So maybe
Yep.
then you can buy a home next year or the year after. But I know enough now to say, okay, this is a definitive reason why you can't be approved. So let's fix that, right? And I've
Yeah.
explored all the options possible. So that helps a lot. Like, that makes me feel, that's the gratitude part in it. That's why I'm still in the business too.
Yeah. Well, I think you touched on something that's like extremely important that people don't realize, that not every mortgage lender is the same, right?
Mhm.
I don't think people in our industry are are that knowledgeable in that aspect, right? They all think, oh, if they can't get approved by XYZ bank, they're not going to get approved anywhere. Same thing with loan officers too. Loan officers at other financial institutions, they don't know that they have an outlet to help out their clients as well. So it's very interesting that you say that, because it's like the more that you talk to a lot of the referral sources, realtors, CPAs, everybody out there that has a need to purchase a home, they don't realize that there's other options just because one person says no.
Yeah.
So it's very interesting that you said that. And I think that's the whole purpose of this whole podcast, is that just educate everybody, not just on product sets, but also sort of what's going on sort of within our industry. And like you
Mm,
said, spill a little bit of tea about things that go on behind the scenes. So
yeah.
thanks for bringing that up. That's a very important point.
And, and I don't want to knock on the loan officers that don't know all the different products, right? Because at the end of the day, your job, your career, your craft is what you need to know well. So
Hmm.
it it's not a requirement for you to have to go out there and try to, let me learn this too and that too and be well-rounded here and there. Because your job is heavy enough, doing what you
Yep.
need to do is burden enough, right? Um, so for me, and that's why I use the word gratitude versus like, oh, that was the right thing to do. No, it's more like having learned that, I'm just like, okay, I'm glad I did, but it wasn't a right or wrong thing, right? Um, but one thing I'm gonna switch gears a little bit here. Given that this is the first podcast, I so aside from mortgages, where, that's kind of how I met you in a sense, I think like between mortgages and Aria is where we crossed, right?
Mhm.
Around the same time. And one thing that you've always said, when we've done other speaking events, like you've made it a point to say that you're actually an introvert and you're like afraid of public speaking and that like, all that stuff, right? But I've seen you public speak quite often, especially on the Aria platform, right? Where you hold a very important position. So, okay, let's touch on that. Like what do you do for Aria right now?
So for the people that don't know what ARIA is, ARIA stands for the Asian Real Estate Association of America. It
You're gonna have to
is
say that slower.
Asian Real Estate Association of America.
Okay.
It is one of the largest Asian trade organizations in the U.S. What we primarily do is advocate for homeownership rights within our AANHPI community. We do that by lobbying with with our representatives for changes within the home buying process. The organization has 45 chapters across the U.S. Obviously, you are currently president of the Brooklyn chapter. I was introduced to ARIA back in 2015, just as a member in Manhattan. Um, I think at that time, it was at it was at a new development tour that I first went in. Um, Signed up, went into my first event, met some amazing people that I still keep in contact with today. They introduced me to everybody, literally everybody at the event, which was very surprising, right? Because most networking events that you go to, it's just somebody said it and like they just become business card dispensers, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
I love that term that people do. It's just like a lot of people that go to networking events, it's just about collecting cards. It's like Pokemon cards that my daughter collects. It's gotta catch them all. Um, but no, so yeah, uh, just coming to that organization, just going to the first event, and just seeing the warmth and welcoming sort of environment that people are. I was like, I got to join this organization. Went home, joined it immediately. Went to a lot of events, like I said, still met a lot of people. 2018, I got the chance to jump on the ARIA Northern New Jersey um, board of directors. So I got welcomed, I guess you want to put it, but I got
Hmm.
welcomed as a board of director in 2018 as um, for Northern New Jersey. Served there until 2022, where I was the Northern New Jersey chapter president. Um, After that, in 2023, I became the ARIA National Mortgage Chair. And through that, I decided to run for the ARIA National Secretary and Treasurer. I won that. So now I am the current, this year, 2025 ARIA National Secretary. And then next year, I'll be the ARIA National Treasurer. I honestly, I owe a lot to Aria. You can honestly ask my wife. Before Aria, I wouldn't have that many public speak. I wouldn't have the chance to really talk, in public a lot. It'd mostly be, smaller classroom settings, just educating things like that. Um, but it's always, put yourself in an uncomfortable situation, and then you wind up bettering yourself for it. So honestly, it's just that, like, I was just forced to just be in front of people so many times that, and just how I am now, it's
I love that you said that.
that's a change.
Yeah.
It really will become a fundamental change, especially when you're comfortable. And I think that's the biggest thing, right? Whenever we go to these ARIA events, it always becomes ARIA community, ARIA family, right? Well, for me, just with the amount of friends I meet in ARIA, it does feel like family. It does feel like a community. So whenever I go up there, I don't really get nervous because I'm speaking to my friends, I'm speaking to my family. So I just have that comfort level.
Yeah. No, I love that you said, kind of putting yourself in an uncomfortable position to get
Yeah.
comfortable. Like that's part of self-growth, right? So which is another reason why we are doing this podcast too. We're not, like you said, just going to speak about product acknowledgement or how do you get the best rate or whatever the case may be. There's market updates. And also, I really want to focus on a lot of our own experiences and hopefully bring on guests as well that can give their experience to help other people grow in different aspects of their lives. Because just you saying, hey, being in an uncomfortable position to be comfortable, that can apply to so many different industries. That can apply to so many different things in your life in general,
Good.
right? Um, I had someone say to me, a realtor actually, and it, like different areas have different, I guess, strategies on how to prospect. And there's a part of Brooklyn where, door knocking isn't the weirdest thing, right? Where realtors will literally, knock on your door, but hey, you're looking to sell, or, are you fronting and you want to buy, right? And this realtor had told me he was training his team, and one of the hardest thing was like his team members are just like nervous, like they didn't want to go up to the door. They're like, this is so awkward, right? Like, what if they slam the door in my face? What if this? What if that? And the tip that he had given was just, it's like, okay, so what's the worst that's gonna happen, right? And like they're gonna tell you, hey, I'm not interested, or they're gonna say, leave me alone, or they're not gonna answer the door, right? But you walking up those steps and ringing that bell is already
That's a
one
good point.
step closer
Yeah.
to you being comfortable with your craft, you being comfortable with what you're trying to sell, being that salesperson that you're trying to be, just ringing that bell already. But you
Mhm.
know what? If that person doesn't answer the door, now you're kind of like, "Oh, okay, I didn't have to go through that pitch, right? But you made it the first step. So the second time you do it, if the person does answer the bell, then you're a little bit more comfortable, right? So it's kind of like these baby steps, but it's doing what you're uncomfortable doing to get there. And it's the same thing for me. I want to say probably a lot of public speaking events, some that I don't even sign up for or that
Yeah.
has nothing to do with my industry.
You
But
get volunteered a lot.
what? I volunteer a
You get
lot. Oh,
no,
I
you get
get volunteered a lot.
you
Yeah, I
get
get
volunteered.
volunteered a lot. And I have a hard time saying no, so I'm kind of like, okay. But I started with like lunch and learns. So that, 15 years ago, I remember when I first became my own loan officer and not an assistant anymore, I was placed in like different real estate offices, and they were just like, okay, like we're gonna do a lunch and learn. And I had to Google like, what's a lunch and learn? Like, what's that even mean? And I gotta say, I'd done a lot that was just terrible. Like I think back to how I presented myself, what I said, um, and I would just cringe and like, I can't believe I did that. But I kept doing it though. I would offer lunch and learns, like, oh, can you get me in your office to do lunch and learn? Can you get me in to talk to your team? And I hated it. My hands would sweat. I would try to figure out a way to like pretend that I'm not nervous. But
Mhm.
that's the whole point, right? Like you continue to do it. And then on top of that, I'm thankful to the associations like ARIA or, other um, kind of friendlier environments that
Yep.
welcome you. So then when you do these kind of speaking engagements or public speaking engagements, that having those moments to kind of plug into the nerve-wracking ones makes it a little easier. To have a friend there, or have someone there, or have a group that actually would be like, oh yeah, when you're speaking and like do the nod and like all of that means a lot and helps a lot.
Yeah. It you actually touched right on it, is just having that comfort, just having that familiar person there, that just the acknowledgement of what you're saying,
That
shaking your
head
head,
nod, just that head
smile.
nod means
It
so
makes you feel
much.
like you're doing, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. There's times like back for the ARIA sort of leadership and all that stuff, like same thing, do lunch and learns, very comfortable because there'd be 10, 12, maybe 20 people in the audience. It wouldn't be that bad. Remember the first time I did do sort of a panel by myself. Um, it was actually at an ARIA event. I remember this the first time. I didn't have the deck. They didn't send me the deck until the very last minute. My session, it like anyone could have ran it because all I did was just sit there and just read off there was just no engagement. I didn't face the audience. I wasn't looking at you. I was just reading it word by word by word.
Mm,
And they're like, at the end of I didn't see any sort of engagement, or, I didn't see any reactions. I just continued to read. And they're like, yeah, great job. And then I got feedback from like somebody later on. They're like, yeah, you didn't read the deck, did you, beforehand? I'm like, nope, no. So it's just being able to be prepared, being confident in what you're talking about. I think that has a lot to do with just being able to speak in public, but also like you said, it's practice, it's repetition. It's like
mm-hmm.
everything, right? It's like going to the gym. Like that first time you ever go to the gym, you're like, oh, what do I do?
Yeah. See,
Well,
perfect example. Exactly. Like well, for one, I don't go to the gym. I just don't. Um, but I do recall the attempts to go to the gym, and that was exactly the feeling you get. Like you go there and you're like how do I use this machine, right? And then you're thinking the whole world's watching you, right? Because you're like trying to figure out this machine, and in your head you're like, oh, I don't want to look stupid because what if I'm not doing it right? There's other people here. And that all falls under preparation, right?
yeah. So
Well, I do want to say, it's kind of like, first of all, the whole world isn't watching you most of the time. But secondly, with technology these days, just kind of Google how to use a machine first, right? So then this way you're at least a little bit more prepared and then you can do that. But in terms of the gym, that was exactly how I felt. I would go there and be like, all right, so what do I do? How do I do it? What exactly am I trying to even achieve, right? Like, am I trying to lose weight? Am I trying to gain muscle? Like, all this stuff you don't know. So it's kind of like, what do I do? So let's just not go. That's the easy answer, right? Like, let's just not go. It's just too hard, right? But I promise you, and everyone else that's gonna hopefully listen to us, if you just try and you just do a little bit, you're going to get better at it and you're going to get good at it. And the example I give for that is I said I don't go to the gym. I don't do it. I still don't do it. But I recently bought the Hydro. I want to say recently, a few years ago I bought the Hydro. And I um me not being very athletic, I also don't have great cardio, right? So I was like, you know what? I'm not going to set unattainable goals. I'm going to say to myself, hey, I'm going to go on this hydro for 5 minutes a day. And 5 minutes is going to do nothing for me. I'm not going to lose the weight I wanted to lose because this was after I had my son. So I knew that 5 minutes was not going to help me get anywhere, but I'm going to do 5 minutes a day. So
yeah,
I did that for 2 weeks and then I went up to 10 minutes and then I did that for a week and then I went up to 15 minutes and then I did that for a week and I slowly, and as much as I wanted to go from 10 minutes to 30 minutes, I had to like actually stop myself and be like, no, like let's just keep this successful trend versus like not being able to do it and then feeling like, oh, I failed. Like, so let me just stop, right? Which is a very common response when you're not getting the results you want. So
yeah,
one tip I've always like whenever I do have my speaking engagements where it's a little bit more motivational, the huge part is like set attainable goals, even if it's something that's going to take you
Yeah.
longer to achieve. Do it slowly. I went from that to like 45 minutes a day, 2 times a day.
Well,
Like it was just like fun
good.
for me,
Yeah.
which is, for anyone who knows me, that is never something I would say is fun. So that's just my little motivational tip, if I had to give one. Attainable goals. Be real with
It's
yourself. Yeah.
Yeah, I think to add on to that, I would definitely agree with set attainable goals, but I also would also advise that you're not in co you're not in competition with anybody else, right? Because I think that's the biggest thing that people do is they always compare themselves with somebody else
Mm-hmm.
whenever they're trying something new. Whether it's a gym, whether it's like you said, prospecting, it's just like, well, they're doing this and it's working for them. Why isn't it working for me? Right. Well, everybody's different, right? Set goals for yourself. So you said, like the gym aspect is like that, I did a lot of health related things when I was younger, worked at the gym, actually studied to get my NASM sort of certification, which is personal training. Never took the test, but I studied for it. Um, whatever. So,
That's pretty
going
cool. Yeah.
working out and stuff like that was very important to me. So there became a time where it was just, obviously having kids, switching careers. There's a lot that's added onto your plate where, just, I got lazy. I didn't work out for a few years, and then just trying to go back into the gym starting, January when I was one of those resolution people. Um, I worked out, I would say month of January, I think I worked out 22 days out of the 30 days because it does say that you have to do something consistently for 21 days before it becomes a habit.
Mm-hmm.
So then after that, I would go to the gym. Um, I would say, yeah, about 3 to 4 days a week after that. Then after that, and after I started feeling more comfortable, decided to try doing something else. Well, I never worked out at 5 a.m. Let's try that. So started setting an alarm. The first sort of goal that I wanted to make myself is just to wake up, just to get ready. If I don't go, I don't go, but at least I'll be able to go after I drop off my kids. And then it came, right now, like my body clock is at 5 a.m. Like I'll wake up at 5 a.m.
You'd never
Oh,
ever text or call me at 5 a.m. I swear to God. I would be so mad at you. Okay, you
that's
can
just for
text
that.
because
Watch
I
me
have
tomorrow.
notifications off. You can text, just
Tomorrow.
don't
Good
call.
morning. Yeah. But yeah, so it's those things where, you can't do everything all at once. Like you said, you have to set yourself attainable goals. So the first thing I did was set the alarm clock for 5 o'clock. Let me just wake up. Let me just see how I feel. You know, More days than not, I'm like ready to go and things like that. And if I don't go at 6 a.m., I'll make sure that I go right after I drop off my daughter. Right. So it's just having that balance. And I think now that we're talking about the gym, I think having physical health is just as important as having mental health, especially in the industry that we're in, right? Because we don't have a release, we don't have a healthy sort of alternative. And then, it's just, you just go down a rabbit hole. It just spirals,
Mm-hmm.
right? Like you don't want to sort of self medicate, at the bar. Like having a drink or two is fine, but having a healthy release, especially in a stressful industry,
Yeah.
um, it's a good release. And also it's actually a great sort of networking sort of, tool half the time, right? You know, there's a lot of people that love like I've never tried it, but I like pickleball is like huge. Like
Everyone's been talking about pickleball, and I honestly never even heard of it until COVID. So I don't know what happened during COVID, but everyone started playing pickleball in Long Island. It was so specific. Uh, so I figured, people probably, still wanted to stay healthy, kind of have, a safe distance, right? But like, why not just tennis then?
I think because pickleball is a smaller court, it's a smaller court, there's less movement than on a tennis court,
Oh, okay, so it can,
and it's not as
like if you're
fast.
a little older or if you're not as the,
Yeah.
the
So if you're
athletic,
not as
you can,
mobile, yeah,
yeah.
like pickleball's a good option. It's you still have to be, still a very athletic sport, but the
Yeah.
court is smaller. The ball, I think, goes a little bit slower than a regular tennis ball.
Interesting. I always thought it went faster. I mean, there we go. Like I didn't do any research on it. I just hear it a lot. I don't even know what it looks like in terms of like the racket and the ball. I always for some reason thought it was like kind of like racquetball, right? Which I would never, it's too fast for me. I've always been a tennis player, so like that to me is like slow enough. Racquetball is just way too like too many walls and stuff like can't do it.
Yeah, I think it's like I think a plastic ball. It's like almost like a wiffle ball, I
Oh,
think.
interesting.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. So that's why. Um,
All
I haven't
right.
done it yet. I haven't really gotten into it. I just do golf, and I'm trying to get back into basketball, which is probably the worst sport for mid 40-year-old person to get into, just because
Basketball?
you can really tear
You
you
can
can
hurt
really tear
yourself.
people.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So like
yeah.
my brother is very athletic. I swear he probably always wanted a brother and not a sister because he had raised me like he taught me how to ride a bike, ice skate, rollerblade, like every sport or physical activity that I know how to do, even though I can't do it well. He had taught me and he had tried to make me excel in it. And I was just like, can't do it. I just freaking can't do this. But he's played basketball his whole life, right? And even so till this day, like someone as experienced as him and as healthy as him, he'll still pull something. Like basketball is it's not the safest sport, I wouldn't put it that
Not
way, but
There's a lot of
um,
drinking. There's a lot of like cutting back and forth, especially when you
mhm,
get hurt.
yeah.
Something can pull, something can snap. So I'm like, maybe I should take it easy, and I
Stick
think
with your
that's
golf. Stick with your golfing. Um, but speaking of golfing, when is your birthday? Is that public information we can disclose?
yeah. My birthday's September 26th.
Perfect. I just found the funniest, cutest gift that has to do with golf, and you're the first person I thought of. And I
Nice.
had gotten it, but then I was like, it's weird if I just give you a gift for fun. So, given that September is coming up and your birthday hasn't passed yet, that's what it's going to be for. And we can talk about that on another episode. I think you're going to love it. Um,
Cool.
but yeah, well, the second I saw
I'm
it, I'm like,
excited.
this is Gary's gift. And you'll know
Yeah,
why when you get it. But yeah,
uh,
so
I honestly don't even know your birthday then. When is your birthday? If you're allowed to say, if you want to.
I'll leave
I
the
know that's a
year
big
out.
thing.
I'll leave the year out. It's December 26th.
Okay, there you go.
Undisclosed year, though. Yeah.
Wow. December
I
26th.
hate
So,
it.
so
Absolutely
do you
hate it.
only get one present?
One of the reasons why I hate it, yes, I get a lot of Merry Christmas and Happy Birthday with one gift. And then also, it's not a date where it's easy to celebrate with your friends because
Yeah.
Christmas is a very family holiday, right? So
Yeah.
everyone either is home for Christmas or if they have to fly back home because we live in New York, right? You live in New Jersey, which is pretty much the same thing in the sense where it's very diverse. There's a lot of people who move here, but their families like all over the country, right? So my friends are either not in New York because they're flying away to see their family, or they're spending Christmas with their family and then they're gearing up for the big New Year's party, like no one's like, hey, let's go out and party the day after Christmas. So I have actually never went to a club to celebrate my birthday ever.
Mhm.
I
Not even
have
before. Not even before.
never, like
Like
in my
Christmas.
life. Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
I've never celebrated my birthday in a club. I've never celebrated my birthday with more than 10 people. Because
Wow.
it would just be like a random, like, oh, let's come out for dinner kind of a thing. And that's probably only happened like a handful of times, right? It's just not something that,
Yeah, for heart. Yeah, I get
yeah.
it.
But then it's fine because it's also not something I ever, I was also that, or still kind of am like that introvert in a sense where I don't want like to be at the club with the sparklers and like, Queenie, happy birthday. Like, that's so awkward to me. Like, I would be like, I would go inwards and just kind of like hide in the corner. So I almost
There you go.
prefer like the smaller, more intimate dinners, like over that. Yeah.
So now you gave me a good idea to surprise you next time we're at our event. I'm just gonna
I
say it's your
just won't show
birthday.
up. I just won't show up. See,
No, well, I'm not gonna
you
say it happens.
are in.
I'm gonna tell you that would just ruin the whole surprise.
Remember what you said about that speaking opportunity you had where they told you last minute so you didn't have a chance to read the deck and you
Yeah.
were your own panel, right? So having gone through that and knowing like how stressful that is, why would you do that to someone else?
Well, I'm not gonna make you speak. I'm just gonna put you on the
Y-
spot.
Okay.
Like if you're at dinner, I'm like, it's her
No,
birthday,
no, I'm talking about the leadership events. Or was it
Oh,
leadership? It was at Aria event
yeah.
where it was in the
Oh, was
city.
it my boot camp? It was my boot
Was it
camp, the
your
one that
boot
I
camp?
threw in the city.
Okay.
The one I
So,
threw in the city.
mm-hmm.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. Well, I mean, coincidentally, and the whole reason why I thought of that to bring you up. So for the people that don't know, is I threw a leadership retreat or quote unquote boot camp for most of the East Coast leaders for ARIA, just to sort of teach them the fundamental skills of operating a chapter, finances, sponsorship, through quick plan, just all encompassing. So I remember, because I'm heavily connected to a lot of the people in the other chapters. They told me incoming leadership, you, Michael, and you. I was like, oh yeah, I remember Queenie. I I started the national convention. I think it was in Vegas. Was it in Vegas?
It was the year before that. It was it
Chicago.
Chicago. Okay.
Yeah, so it was in Chicago. I saw you. I don't think you guys went in. I think I saw you, James, Christian, and Ace show up, and then I stepped out of the general session. I see you having a drink with Paul.
Yes.
Just you guys are laughing, talking, and I was like, all right, that's cool. Then all of a sudden, the following year, I heard that, you were stepping into leadership for Aria Brooklyn. I was like, oh, that's awesome. I was like, has she been to a lot of events? I'm like, no. She went to the national convention and then she went to one or two events and then, she's all about it. I'm like, yo, that's dope. So the leadership boot camp that I was throwing, people are coming in and all of a sudden I just see you. I'm like, oh, that's perfect. Let's talk about somebody that, believes in Aria so much that she's willing to step into leadership.
Oh, that's
So boom.
perfect. But just you don't have to let her know first, give a heads up,
Nope.
nothing. I was in the back of
Well,
the
you just
room.
popped in. So you popped in. So it wasn't like I had a chance to be like, hey, it was really spur of the moment.
I was actually in the back. So the reason why I was there earlier, but then I had left because there was some tech issues with the panelists who were on the stage speaking. One of their the names wasn't correct on there. So I popped out to find the media room to be like, hey, you guys have to change this really quick. Because it wasn't just the name not being
No, it's the company.
correct. It was the company, which is a big issue,
Yeah.
right? If you're publicly speaking and a company name is wrong. So I was like, oh my God, I had to go. Like I popped out, try to crisis control. And then I pop in, I'm just like, okay, we're good. And I'm like pulling out my phone to take a picture. And then this guy's like, oh, so Queenie, why don't you say a few words? And I just came back sweating from this crisis control.
Yeah, like running around the building like, where's the guy?
Yeah.
Meanwhile, you
So
could have just came up to me and I would have just taken down the slide.
I didn't know who to go to. That was how last minute it was. And it was presented to me in a sense where it was like, oh my God, it's a big deal that the name's wrong. Like, we got to fix this now. Right. So I'm just like, okay, on it.
Yeah.
But yes, I do that. I do appreciate that though, because in a sense, even though you did put me in the spot, it was again in a room where there were trusted individuals that I knew,
Yeah.
right? So I know, and also I do believe that you did it knowing that I would be able to answer or say something and I wasn't going to just faint, right? So, I think that's, that was fine. But I'll always remember you as that person.
There's a guy that just pulls you. There you go.
Yes.
Perfect.
Yes, I'm always very
Perfect.
on guard around you, and I never know what you're gonna do to to embarrass me next. Yeah.
Just make sure you don't conquer anything that I'm speaking at, or else I might just pull you up
Oh
again. Just
God.
That's good.
Well, I think we gave a lot of information about us as people, right?
Yes. Yes.
And I think um this going back to why this podcast a little bit, you know, I personally think it's going to be really fun to do, and also it there will be very fun topics as well that we're going to hit that I think listeners will enjoy. Um but again, this is another challenge for myself. It's something I've never done before, right?
Well,
So,
we took the first step, which is basically just getting on camera,
yeah.
you know,
Figure
getting
out the technology was like
recording.
the hardest part.
That's going to be the hardest part, is figuring out the
Yeah.
technology. But
Yeah.
we figured that out. Where this is recording the first one. I'm sure, it's gonna be a lot of fun. We're gonna offer a lot of great content for people. Also share a little bit about sort of our day to day, find
Mhm.
out, let them know sort of what's going on just in the industry. I think just anything else that we can present and just give value.
Yeah, and I personally think that this will also be a very like down and dirty kind of podcast, right? Where, we will be talking about some uncomfortable things as well.
Yes.
And it's, the just the truth and, the full transparency in a sense, right? I mean, within compliance, of
Yeah.
course.
Yeah, I mean, we deal with very sensitive information all the time for people. So, and we do see a lot of behind the scenes that sometimes not even know. It's very interesting because sometimes even the people's spouse don't even know what's going on.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
that's crazy to me. But yeah, I'm excited about this. I'm excited that we got a chance to do this. I look forward to our next one.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, I just want to thank everybody that is actually listening into our first one and will continue to listen. That's it for
Oh,
me at this but if
yes.
me.
And also, we have the topics we want to discuss, but if there's
Mhm.
any topics that you guys want to hear about, even if it's a little taboo or you're just kind of like, oh, I never thought of that, or like, I don't know who to ask about this, we're going to leave our information. So you can always, message us, DM us,
Mhm.
text us. Like I feel like in this day and age,
Mhm.
everything is like full transparency. Like you can contact anyone.
Mhm.
Texting a random person is not the weirdest thing. So more than happy to cover those items as well. Just anything to kind of give us an idea on what the audience wants to hear. We'll be more than happy to share. Yeah.
Real talk, rinse, and repeats.
Thank you
We're
for tuning
Queeny and
in
Gary.
to
Yes.
Real Talk, Rates, and Repeat. More to come. We're going to keep this consistent, so you can expect to hear from us at given times once a week, and we go from there.
All right.
So
Thanks,
here's
guys.
bye from Queenie and Gary.